It was a Wednesday afternoon in October when my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in over 5 years. The name on the screen was Jessie, my ex-wife. I stared at it for a long moment, the phone vibrating in my hand like a trapped animal. It wasn't just an old number, it was a ghost. My wife left me for my best friend, and now she was calling. My thumb hovered over the decline button. I didn't owe her anything. Then I thought about it. Jessie never called anyone unless it was an emergency. She'd rather eat glass than admit she needed help. Against every instinct in my body, I swiped to answer. "Hello," I said, my voice flat. There was a pause, then a voice I knew better than my own. It wasn't Jessie, though. It was Emily, my daughter's voice. She was crying. "Dad, please don't hang up." That was how it started. One phone call that brought a 7-year-old wound right back to the surface. But to understand why that phone call felt like a knife to the chest, you have to go back a little further, back to when my life fell apart. My name is Mark, and 5 years ago, I was a high school history teacher in a small town outside of Charlotte. I was 42 years old, and I had a solid, predictable life. I lived in a modest 3-bedroom ranch house with a picket fence that needed a fresh coat of white paint. It was the kind of house that you saw in commercials for lawnmowers or retirement plans. I'd been married to Jessie for 18 years. We met in college, had a simple wedding, and built a life together. We had a daughter, Emily, who was 15 at the time. My world was small and contained. I had a few buddies I played poker with once a month. I coached Emily's softball team on the weekends, and I had a best friend, Rick. Rick and I went back to middle school. We played football together, got in trouble together, and even stood up in each other's weddings. He was the godfather to my daughter. He was the guy you called at 2 in the morning when you needed help moving a couch or when you got a flat tire on a rainy highway. Rick was the closest thing I had to a brother. When Jessie started working as a real estate agent, Rick was struggling with his own business. He'd opened a landscaping company, and the first few years were rough. So I did what friends do. I helped him out. I drove around with him on weekends, passing out flyers, and even loaned him some money to cover his payroll one winter. But looking back, I was the last one to see what was happening right in front of me. It started small. I'd come home from a long day of grading papers, and Rick's truck would be in the driveway. He'd be sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee with Jessie. He was always just stopping by to chat or to borrow a tool. It was casual. It felt normal. Then the three of us started going to dinner together. Rick had just gone through a messy divorce and was lonely. I felt sorry for him. I thought I was being a good friend by including him. He was a great guy. He had that easygoing charm. He could make anyone laugh. Looking back, I should have seen the way his eyes lingered on Jessie a little too long. I should have noticed the way she straightened her hair when he walked in the room, but I trusted them both with my whole heart, stupidly. The turning point happened on a Thursday night. The school had just ended its spring semester, and I was exhausted. Jessie said she was going out for a drink with Rick to help him with some paperwork. "He needs a business plan," she said. "I used to do that stuff in college." It made sense. Jessie was sharp. She could balance a checkbook in her head. I kissed her on the cheek and told her to have fun. I fell asleep on the couch watching the news. I woke up at 2 a.m. The lights were off and the house was dark. I went upstairs to our bedroom, but Jessie wasn't there. Her pillow was untouched. I started to worry. I called her phone, and it went straight to voicemail. I called Rick, and his phone went to voicemail too. I paced the living room. Was she in a ditch? Was she in a hospital? My mind went to the worst places. At 2:45 a.m., the front door opened. Jessie walked in. She was holding her heels in her hand, her hair was a mess, and her lipstick was smudged. I asked her where she'd been. She said the bar closed at 1:30 and she'd just been sitting in Rick's truck in the parking lot, talking. She said she'd lost track of time. I asked her if she was drunk. She said no. I asked her if she was okay. She said she was fine and just wanted to go to sleep. I didn't want to seem like the jealous husband. I let it slide. But over the next month, the distance grew. Jessie was always working late. She'd meet Rick for lunch. Our conversations became hollow. We stopped having dinner together. I was a history teacher, but I was completely blind to the history that was repeating itself right in front of me. Then one Saturday, I was looking for a spatula in the kitchen. Jessie was in the shower and her purse was on the counter. I just wanted the spatula, but as I moved her purse, her phone screen lit up. It was a text from Rick. It said, "I can't stop thinking about last night." I shouldn't have read it, I know I shouldn't have, but my fingers moved on their own. I unlocked her phone, she didn't even bother to change the password from our anniversary. I scrolled through the texts. The messages went back months. It started with innocent jokes and complaints about work. Then it turned into "I miss you" and "When can I see you again?" And then it turned into things I will never unread. Vivid things. Things about hotels and stolen hours. My hands started shaking. I felt like I was going to be sick. Right there on the kitchen floor, with the sound of the shower running, I found out that my wife and my best friend had been sleeping together for 6 months. I confronted her when she got out of the shower. I was sitting on the edge of the bed. I asked her directly, and there was no point lying because I had the proof. The look on her face wasn't shame, it wasn't regret, it was relief. She exhaled, sat down on the vanity stool and said, "I've been trying to figure out how to tell you." I asked her to leave. I asked her to pack her things. I didn't even raise my voice. I felt this cold, calculated numbness. She didn't argue with me. She didn't fight for us. She just packed a bag, called Rick, and he picked her up an hour later. I found out later that my daughter Emily was at a friend's house that night. Rick and Jessie had both decided they were going to use that night to tell me together, but Jessie lost her nerve. I didn't see that though. I just saw my best friend's truck pulling into my driveway to take my wife away. That was the last time I trusted anyone completely. The divorce was quiet and fast. Jessie didn't want the house, she didn't want the cars, she didn't want alimony, she just wanted out. She moved into Rick's house, a big modern place he'd built after his landscaping business took off. Emily stayed with me for the first year. She was angry at both of them. She refused to talk to her mom for months, but as a teenager she needed her mom, and eventually she started spending weekends there. I hated it. I hated seeing Emily walk out the door every Friday afternoon with a duffel bag, heading to their house. For the first 2 years, I was just surviving. I went to work, I came home, I watched TV, and I went to bed. The silence in that house was deafening. I spent my weekends fixing things. I replaced the water heater. I redid the bathroom tile. I built a new deck out back. I kept my hands busy so my mind couldn't wander to the betrayal. I stopped playing poker. I didn't want to see any of our mutual friends because it was too awkward. I had become a ghost. I didn't date. I didn't even try. How could I trust another person after what Jessie and Rick did to me? They had been the two people I trusted most in the world, and they had taken turns pulling the rug out from under me. In year 3, Rick reached out. He sent me a long, rambling email. It was a lot of "I don't know what to say," and "I'm sorry it happened this way." He called it an uncontrollable connection. He wanted to be friends again. He said life was too short. I deleted the email without replying. I didn't want his pity. I didn't want his excuses. I just wanted to be left alone. Years 4 and 5 were the quietest. Emily turned 18. She moved out, not to a house or an apartment, but to college. The house was empty all the time. I started taking longer walks in the neighborhood. I started reading again. I was healing slowly in my own way. I was finally getting to the point where I could think about the whole thing without feeling like my chest was caving in. I had made peace with the solitude. Then I got that call in October. Emily was crying, but she wasn't just crying about a bad grade or a boy. She was trying to tell me something, but she couldn't get the words out. She kept saying, "Dad, I don't know what to do. I don't know who else to call. I'm sorry." I could tell she was in trouble. I got her to calm down enough to tell me she was at the hospital. "It's Rick," she said. "He had a heart attack, a really bad one. They don't know if he's going to make it." I was silent. I didn't know what to say. Rick was in his early 50s, a little overweight, but healthy enough. It was a shock. Then she said, "Mom is a mess. She can't stop crying. She's trying to handle everything, but she's not thinking straight. She's trying to do the medical stuff and the insurance stuff and the business stuff, and it's all falling apart." I still didn't say anything. Emily took a breath. "Dad, they're going to lose the house. Rick put it up as collateral for a business loan he took out last year. He didn't tell Mom. The business is doing okay, but he missed a few payments while he was in the hospital. The bank is threatening to start foreclosure proceedings. They need to come up with a payment in 2 weeks, or they're going to lose everything. I was just supposed to be the guy who told stories about dead presidents and ancient wars. I wasn't a financial advisor. I wasn't a superhero. I was just Mark, the guy who got cheated on. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to say, "Sorry about your luck, Emily, but that's not my problem." But I could hear the desperation in her voice. I could hear the fear. She was scared for her mom. "Dad, I know what they did was awful. I know, I haven't forgotten. But Mom is all alone. She's terrified. She needs help." I felt that old familiar tightness in my chest. The anger I'd buried for years came bubbling up again. "Emily, honey, why are you calling me? Why can't she call the bank? Why can't she ask her family?" "They've already tried. Nobody has the money, Dad. You know how it is. The only person who might have something is you. You got the house free and clear in the divorce. You've been saving all those years on a teacher's salary." I cut her off. "So what? I'm supposed to fix this. I'm supposed to take my savings and give it to the man who wrecked my life." "It's not for him," Emily said. "It's for Mom and for me. If they lose the house, they lose everything. She'll be homeless. Dad, please, I don't care what you do, but I need you to come to the hospital. Just talk to her. Look her in the eye and tell her you can't help if that's what you decide. But please just come." The line went quiet. I could hear her breathing. She was waiting for an answer. I should have said no. I had every right to say no, but I'm her father, and no matter how old she gets, I can't stand to hear her cry. I told her I would come. The drive to the hospital was an hour and a half. It was a foggy morning, the type of morning where the world feels muted and grey. I didn't know what I was doing there. I was walking into a situation I swore I'd never be a part of again. When I got to the ICU waiting room, everything felt surreal. The blue chairs, the vending machine humming in the corner, the smell of antiseptic, and there she was, Jessie. She looked so different. She had aged. Her hair was streaked with grey, and she looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. She was wearing a wrinkled sweater and jeans. She had no makeup on. She looked like a ghost of the woman who had walked out of my life. She saw me walk in, and her face crumpled. She stood up, her hands shaking. She walked toward me, and for a second, I thought she was going to try and hug me. She stopped herself a few feet away, holding her hands up like she was surrendering. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for coming." I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. "I know I don't deserve your help," she said. "I know I don't deserve anything, but I'm scared. I'm so scared, Mark." She started crying. "Rick is in a coma. He might not wake up, and if he does, he won't be able to work for months. The business is going under. The mortgage is due. I can't do this alone. I never handled the money. He handled everything." I asked her about the house. I asked her about the money Rick had borrowed. She told me about the loan, the balloon payment coming due. She told me about the letters from the bank she'd been hiding from Rick because she didn't want to stress him out while he was sick. The bank wanted $25,000 within 2 weeks, or they were going to start the foreclosure process. $25,000. That was exactly the amount I had in my savings account. I'd been saving for years. I'd lived like a monk after the divorce. I didn't take vacations. I didn't buy new cars. I just saved, and there it was, the exact number. I looked at her. I remembered that night I found the texts. I remembered the look on her face when I confronted her, the relief. I remembered the year I spent in that house by myself, fixing things that weren't broken just to keep from falling apart. I remembered the sleepless nights and the anxiety attacks. But then I looked at her hands. They were wringing a tissue. She was scared. She wasn't trying to manipulate me. She was just terrified. "I don't have to help you," I said. "I know," she said. "I know you don't." "And if I help you, I'm not doing it for him," I said. "He means nothing to me." "I know," she said again. "I'm doing it for Emily. I never want my daughter to worry about where her mother is going to sleep." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, she's the best thing we ever did, Mark. We did that right. We made a good kid." I stood in that cold hospital hallway for a long time. The doctors walked by. Nurses pushed carts. The world kept moving. I thought about my father. He was a man of few words, but he used to say, "The greatest revenge is success and a life well lived." I didn't feel successful. I felt like I was still broken, but I also felt something else. I felt pity, not for them, but for myself. I realized I was tired of being angry. I was tired of carrying the weight of that betrayal. It had been 5 years. I had let it define me. I took a breath. "All right," I said, "I'll help you." She broke down. She collapsed against the wall like I'd just taken a 1,000-pound weight off her shoulders. "Thank you," she kept saying, "thank you." But I wasn't done. I put up a hand. "I'll help you, but I'm not giving you the money." She looked confused. "I have conditions," I said. "I'm not just handing you a check and walking away. If you want my help, you're going to have to accept it my way." I told her my plan. I told her I was going to pay the bank directly. I was going to take the money and walk into the branch myself and make the payment. But I wasn't just giving her a handout. I was buying a stake in the business. "I'm taking 25% of the company," I said. "Legally binding, lawyer-signed papers. I get a share of the profits until that money is paid back in full." It was the first time she looked scared of me. "Mark, it's not worth anything right now. The company is in the red." "I know," I said, "but your husband built it from the ground up. He knows how to make it work. And when he gets back on his feet, I want my money back, plus interest." I wasn't trying to be cruel. I just needed to protect myself. I had learned the hard way that trusting people without a safety net was a surefire way to get hurt. She agreed. She called a lawyer that very afternoon. I spent the next 3 weeks at that hospital. I wasn't there for Jesse. I was there for Emily, and I was there to manage the situation. I started going through Rick's paperwork with a lawyer. I had to figure out the insurance mess. I found out Rick had missed several important payments. I got the bank to agree to a forbearance agreement, which bought us more time. I paid the mortgage. I started calling his clients to reassure them the business wasn't going under. Then Rick woke up. I was in the room when he opened his eyes. He looked around, groggy, confused. He saw Jesse, he saw Emily, and then his eyes landed on me. I saw the panic flash across his face. He looked at Jesse, then back at me. He was trying to piece it together. Jesse was crying, "Rick, you're okay, it's okay." But his eyes were still locked on me. He tried to speak, but his voice was a rasp. He was looking for an explanation. He wanted to know why I was there. "Don't get too excited," I said to him. "I'm not here for you, I'm here for Emily." I didn't want to talk about the divorce. I didn't want to rehash it. "Look," I said, "I know we have history, bad history, but you almost died. You have a daughter who loves you and a wife who has been sitting here waiting for you to wake up. I'm just here to make sure they have a home to go back to." He looked at Jessie. She nodded. She explained what had happened, that I had saved the house, saved the business. I watched him process it. I watched the guilt flood his face. He tried to say something, but I stopped him. "You don't need to thank me," I said, "and you don't need to apologize. It happened. It's over. We're moving on." That was a lie. I wasn't sure I was moving on, but I was trying. The words felt hollow, but I was trying to make them true. The healing didn't happen overnight. Rick had a long road to recovery, but he started to change. I could see it in his eyes. The cockiness was gone. He was humbled. He was quiet around me. He struggled to look me in the eye. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail from him. It was a long, handwritten letter, not an email, a real letter. He didn't just say he was sorry for the affair. He explained it. He told me about how he had felt like a failure when his first business went under and how Jesse made him feel like a success. He told me that it was never about me, it was about his own insecurity. He admitted he was a coward for doing it behind my back. He knew he'd broken a brotherhood, and he knew he could never repair it. He said he knew I had no reason to help him and that he would spend the rest of his life trying to be worthy of the second chance I gave him. It wasn't an excuse, it was an explanation. It didn't erase the past, but it helped me understand. It helped me see him as a broken human being instead of just a villain. It took a long time for Emily to forgive me for helping. She was angry at first. She thought I was being a doormat. She thought I was letting them off the hook. I had to explain it to her. "I'm not doing this for them," I told her. "I'm doing this for my own peace. I'm tired of being the victim in my own story. The company started turning around. Rick went back to work, slower than before, but with a new work ethic. He showed up to jobs himself. He stopped delegating everything and started leading. The money started coming in. I didn't talk to Jesse much. We didn't become friends, but we learned to be civil at Emily's birthday parties and graduations. We could sit in the same room without the air turning poisonous. It was a small miracle. 2 years later, I got a check in the mail. It was from Rick's company. It was my final payment. The whole amount plus interest. It was a lot of money. A few weeks after that, Emily called me. Dad, Mom and Rick are having dinner at the house. They want to know if you'll come over. I almost said no. It felt like stepping into a lion's den, but I knew Emily would be there and I wanted to see her. I walked up to the front door of the house that Rick had built, the house that I'd saved. It was the first time I'd been inside. It was nice, warm. Rick was in the kitchen cooking and Jesse was setting the table. We sat down to dinner. It was awkward at first. We talked about the weather, Emily's new job, and local news. Then Rick stood up. He walked over to his office and came back with a folder. He handed it to me. "I've been waiting for the right time to give you this," he said. I opened the folder. It was a legal document. It was the deed to the house. I looked up, confused. "It's yours," Rick said. "You saved it. You saved our family. It's yours. I've already signed the papers. You can move in, sell it, rent it out. It's yours." I was stunned. This was a lot of money. It was a huge house. I tried to give it back. "I can't take this. You paid me back. The business is doing great." "Mark," Rick said, "you gave me my life back. You gave me a second chance. That house is the reminder of what I almost lost. I can't live here knowing I only have it because of you. I don't want to owe you that debt. I want you to have it." Jessie was nodding. Tears were rolling down her cheeks. "It's the least we can do," she said. I looked at Emily. She had this nervous, hopeful look on her face. She wanted to see what I would do. I looked at the deed, the house, the huge, beautiful house that was the symbol of everything I had lost and everything I had gained. I closed the folder. "I don't want your house," I said. They both looked surprised. "I don't need your house," I said. "I have a house. It's a good house. It's the house I built with my own 2 hands after you left. It doesn't have a pool and it doesn't have granite countertops, but it's mine." I put the folder back on the table. "But I'll take a rain check, a promise. The next time life kicks you in the teeth, Rick, you call me. The next time you're drowning, you call me. Not Emily, not Jesse, you call me, and I'll be there, we'll be even." I didn't shake his hand. That was too much, but I looked him in the eye and I meant it. I had moved on. I drove home that night in the rain. My little ranch house looked like a castle when I pulled into the driveway. I sat in my truck for a long time, watching the rain hit the windshield. I thought about all the years I'd wasted being angry. I thought about the weight I'd been carrying. And I realized, sitting there in the dark, that I had finally put it down. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need the house. I didn't need an apology. I just needed to let go. Rick and I aren't best friends. We're not even regular friends, but we have a respect, a peace. Emily has her dad back, and she has her mom back, and for the first time in 7 years, my family feels whole, not in the way I'd imagined, but in a way that works, a way that's real. Sometimes the greatest act of strength isn't fighting back. It's choosing to help someone who doesn't deserve it, not because they've earned it, but because it's the only way to finally set yourself free. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Family Honor Files for more unforgettable stories of family, courage, forgiveness, justice, and second chances. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to people who need them. Thank you for being part of the Family Honor Files community.